Good afternoon to those in Australia and good morning to those in Afghanistan. My name is Ryan Ashard and I am the president of the Monash International Affairs Society. Before we move into the formalities of today's debate, we acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which today's debate is occurring, and we pay respect to their elders past, present and emerging. I would now like to welcome today's chair for the debate, Professor Jackie True, Director of Monash Gender, Peace and Security Centre.
Yes, thanks very much, Ryan. It's a pleasure today to introduce our third debate between Monash University, hosted by Monash Gender, Peace and Security Centre, Monash International Affairs Society and Afghans for Progressive Thinking. This is our third debate, and today's debate will be discussing the moot. This House believes that an international commission should be formed and assigned to protect Afghan women's past achievements during the intra-Afghan peace negotiations that are currently underway. Today's debate, the Monash University team will be the government side, while the team from Afghanistan, from APT, will be the opposition. I will just briefly state the names of the teams, and then I will introduce the first speaker from the Monash government side. So on the Monash University team side, we have Pete Karamaltsos leading, followed by the deputy leader, Sonali De Silva, and then we have Jacob Kobe and Shaila Sharma. On the Afghanistan APT team, the opposition side, we have opening leader of the opposition, Idris Tawakkol, followed by the deputy, Rosita Sakandari, and then we have Safia Anwar, and closing with Farman Inayat. I want to welcome all the speakers and thank you very much for your willingness to debate this topic, which is such an important topic given the contemporary peace talks in Afghanistan. And I would also like to say, I think it's a really important debate we are having, which kind of symbolises the relationship between Australia and Afghanistan over 51 years. Today's debate is the very first one we are live streaming. Our previous debates were recorded, so I hope all of you out there watching will give great encouragement to the debaters who are very brave and encountering both technology and a novel debate this morning and this afternoon. So with that, I'd like to now introduce the first speaker, the leader of the government from the Monash University side, to open the debate for us. Thank you very much, Pete Karamaltsos.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Women in Afghanistan have fought tooth and nail to be able to have the rights they have today. Each wave of reform that has occurred, whether it be in relation to polygamy, forced marriage, or the right to vote, has been met with strong and often violent opposition. Nonetheless, the women of Afghanistan have succeeded in many cases, ranging from being afforded voting rights in the early 20th century to the new constitution in the 1960s, making them equal under the law. But as we have seen from Afghanistan's more recent history, past achievements are not necessarily cast in stone. The rule of the Taliban reversed the progress made and the past achievements were rendered null. The impact of the past 42 years of war has had a profound social, political, and economic impact upon women. Nonetheless, the new constitution has paved the way for further strides towards equality. Women are now not only able to vote, but are guaranteed 64 seats out of 250 in the House of People. Further, the National Action Plan for Women in Afghanistan aimed to protect the rights and ensure equality for women in a variety of ways. The goal, as stated by the government, was to eliminate discrimination against women, develop their human capital, and promote their leadership in order to guarantee their full and equal participation in all aspects of life. Afghanistan has also entered into a range of other policy frameworks, including The Afghanistan National Development Strategy, which includes gender equality as a major cross-cutting issue, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women, and the strategy of the Ministries of Interior and National Defence being revised to attain a minimum of 20% increase in women's representation in their respective ministries over the next 10 years. Women are now, more than ever, attending schools, becoming police officers and medics, and are establishing a degree of economic empowerment. But regardless of these achievements, women still face hurdles to obtain substantive representation. Afghanistan still remains, according to the Georgetown Institute for Women, Peace and Security, one of the worst countries for women. This institute in particular rated Afghanistan as the second worst country for women in the world based on a variety of indicators. In the context of the Afghan peace process, we note that there is no women's participation. Since 2005, women have only held an active role in negotiations twice. If we had to exclude women from the negotiations, then what hope is there that their past achievements will be protected in any new agreement? Advancing gender equality and women's rights after conflict is substantially more difficult in the aftermath of a gender-blind peace process. If we are to delay the introduction of gender provisions, then there is a greater likelihood of peace failing. This would further erode women and girls' current achievement of safety and inclusion. Additionally, while we note that Afghanistan has a fairly robust legal framework aimed at protecting women and defending their rights, these laws sometimes seem to exist on paper only. Government officials and agencies often find it difficult to enforce these frameworks due to a lack of funding or support. An example of this includes the Elimination of Violence Against Women law, that while passed in 2009, has not been truly enforced in many instances. In March 2012, President Karzai endorsed a code of conduct which included a rule that stated women should not travel without a male guardian, they should not mingle with strange men in places such as schools, markets, and offices. Instances such as this indicate how unstable the maintenance of women's past achievements may be. Therefore, we must support by any means the protection of Afghani women's past achievements. They serve as the bedrock to which any future growth can occur and a reminder to all of the women of Afghanistan that there exists a prospect of equality and empowerment. It is these past achievements that acts as a beacon of hope for these women. Consequently, we suggest that an international commission be set up to protect these past achievements. We understand that there exist massive disparities throughout the country's vast provinces. We understand that all support must be localized so as to effect meaningful change. This international commission will not be dictatorial. It will not impede on the sovereignty of Afghanistan. It will serve as an inclusive body that will listen and give guidance on this issue. In conclusion, I'd like to remind Parliament of Article 22 of the Afghan Constitution. Any kind of discrimination and distinction between citizens of Afghanistan shall be forbidden. The citizens of Afghanistan, men and women, have equal rights and duties before the law. This stands testament to women's past achievements. It must be protected, and an international commission is but one, yet a powerful method of doing so. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Pete, for opening for the Monash side. I now invite Idris Tawakkol to open for Afghanistan.
Okay. As the opposition leader, we believe that the Taliban has committed excessively crimes which are unforgivable. They burned the women, they stoned the women like Roxana, and they did many crimes and felonies. The Prime Minister stated that an international commission should be assigned to protect her. We believe that it won't work with the Taliban because it is intra-Afghan talk. So involving international people or international members would damage and terminate the negotiations with the Taliban. What we recommend is that we recently established a High Reconciliation Council, which is leading by Dr. Abdullah. In this council has a very big structure. We, as at the opposing side, recommend that a national committee should be assigned under this council to protect the Afghan women's achievements. Here in this committee, we should have the representatives of different organizations and and national institutions, such as civil society, teachers, university professors, journalists, and many other people, and also as well as the Kuchis, which are about 4 million people in Afghanistan. For supporting my recommendation, I will submit 2 arguments. The first one, it is intra-Afghan talks, so no need to involve international organizations or international committee. Mr. Speaker and Mrs. Speaker, the international society believe that this is intra-Afghan talk. So that's why in the agreement that has been signed with the United States of America, no such issue has been involved. The international society today believe that such issues are the internal issues, and these people should gather together, sit together, and reach to agreements. Not only this issue, there are also many other issues like having security, like involving Taliban into the government, and so on, are the critical issues that would be discussed with the Taliban from Afghanistan's side. So having international commission is not only necessary for this issue, for women's achievement subject, neither for other issues. My second argument is that the existence of international commission would protect some extremist rights, which is not in consonant of the Afghanistan culture and Afghanistan, the society. I'd like to give an example it has been 8 years ago that a law on elimination of violence against women has been drafted by international society here in Afghanistan, but it has not been approved by Taliban so far in the time of 8 years, because the parliament always stated that there are some extremist rights for women which would danger and damage the Afghanistan family order and the Afghanistan family society. We should understand and believe that here in Afghanistan, about 71% of the people are living in the villages, in the far areas. Only 4 million of the people, of the females, are literate and access to the education. So that's why we cannot bring many extremist rights for Afghanistan women in one night or in one day or in one hour with the Taliban more and more. It needs even some decades. For supporting this, I would like to quote an article of this law. The Article 21 of this law talk about the having several women. We should believe, and everyone as the Afghanistan society believe, that the religion of Afghanistan and the structure of Afghanistan has permitted that men can have, in special scenarios and in special cases, they can have more than one wife. But this law said that none of the people can have more than 5. However, the Afghan religion and the Afghan society had permitted this in some scenarios and in some cases. As a conclusion, involving a signed international commission would danger and terminate the negotiation without any conclusion. So instead, a committee with national representatives should be formed and assigned. Thank you.
Many thanks, Idris, for your opening for the Afghanistan opposition side. Some interesting points raised there, and I'm looking forward to the response of the government team. I now invite the Deputy Prime Minister from the Monash side, Sonali De Silva, to speak. Thank you.
I thank the Chair for the opportunity to speak and further articulate this government's stance on the present issue. I would first like to address the Leader of the Opposition's comments, which seem to insinuate that as this is an intra-Afghan talk, there is no need for international involvement by the international community. The very term intra-Afghan attempts to unify the country, but how can you establish peace without having a major segment of society involved in the current peace negotiations to share the vision of the country? Women are currently being sidelined from the peace negotiations and have not been given a seat at the table. This international commission that we seek to establish will bring women up so they are able to have a voice. The commission will not seek to instruct, It will not seek to impose, but rather it will seek to empower. If we leave women behind, Afghanistan faces more uncertainty than before, and the country won't be able to move forward, but rather will be pulled back. Peace is a long-term construction, and it requires a long-term solution. We believe an international commission is the best chance to ensure lasting and meaningful peace. As the Prime Minister has articulated, since the fall of the Taliban government, women have fought ferociously for equality and have gained various meaningful rights and responsibilities within the current Afghan society. We need to protect this. With both the Taliban envoys refusing the inclusion of women and the Afghan government merely accepting this position to appease the Taliban, there needs to be some third party that not only recognizes the achievements of women thus far, but prevents a regression of these rights and supports the current trajectory that Afghan women appear to be on. I will have 2 points to this argument. Firstly, that there needs to be a third party to prevent a regression of women's achievements, and secondly, that an international commission is the best way to do this to support the current trajectory that Afghan women are headed towards. In the 20th century, Afghanistan had a progressive outlook on women. Various rights were within Afghan women's grasp, as they were granted the right to vote, and a new constitution, which they themselves authored, enumerated various gender equality provisions. However, when the Taliban took power, this move towards gender inclusion regressed, and women were instead starting from scratch for 40 years under a deeply misogynistic regime. It is clear that the Taliban hasn't fundamentally changed their perception of women in society. Although they have softened their official stance by recognizing that women can have some liberties and freedoms, the primacy of misogyny still exists, because the caveat to this all is that Afghan women must adhere to Afghan values as described by the Taliban. There does not appear to be any adequate safeguards for women to even feel like they are protected during these current peace talks. This demonstrates the importance of having women meaningfully present within the peace talks, as despite all these milestones, the rights and freedoms that they've gained thus far, these need to be protected and regression needs to be prevented. Constitutions can always be ignored, and as demonstrated by Afghan history, rights can always be taken away if there is no systematic inclusion. This raises the importance of having an international body be present and instrumental during the peace talks. We need an independent advisory body that facilitates the inclusion of women into the peace talks through integrating local movements and civil society. It is one thing for a top-down approach to women's inclusion, where an international body comes in and speaks on issues that they are not particularly culturally inept to. However, it is a far more powerful thing for an international advisory body to utilize their power and influence to facilitate a meaningful, lasting inclusion of civil society. This is vital because data shows that the inclusion of civil society groups, particularly women's organizations, makes a peace agreement 64% less likely to fail, thus leading to a meaningful continued success for all. Therefore, to conclude, an international advisory body is needed to prevent a regression of women's rights and achievements and to support the current trajectory that Afghan women are already on. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Sonali, for your contribution to the government side. I'd now like to invite the Deputy Leader of the Opposition from APT to speak, Rosita Secondari.
Hello and good day. First of all, I have to mention that the opening government is on the hanging the case. The composition of international commission is not clear. Who are the people, who are the states, or who will be the organization including in the international commission? Who are the parties? How they are going to reflect the rights of women and achievements of women in that commission? It is all unclear. Madam Speaker, exactly we need to have women in the peace process. Exactly we have in the Team 21 person who are included in the team negotiating with the Taliban, will negotiate in the Taliban. Madam Speaker, we have 5 women who with great experience in that team, from the different dimensions and from the different zones of Afghanistan. Well, that's not the case, and that's not the case of gender equality. We are going to reflect how an international commission is going to reflect and achieve the rights of women in the peace process. Madam Speaker, listening to the opening argument, you might think that we are against the rights of women and we are defending from the Taliban, but exactly vice versa. We are here to protect the rights of women, but not having an international commission. I will follow this with 3 main arguments. Madam Speaker, coming to my first argument. Having an international commission is not compatible with the agreement signed between Taliban and the US. Exactly, it is clear in the context of the agreement mentioned that the talks will be with Afghans and the sides of Afghans. If we have an international commission, Madam Speaker, Afghanistan will be accused from the sides of Taliban that the Afghanistan is not obeying the context of the whole agreement. So in here, the Taliban may reject the whole process of peace process in Afghanistan, not only the rights of women. So we cannot put the danger by establishing an international commission only by not observing and not obeying with an international agreement. Turning to my second main point, Madam Speaker, if we have an international commission, though it was not clear who are the people, who are the parties in that commission, by the way, if we have an international commission, yes, we accept that it's much true, but it is not important to the present case and to the present situation of Afghanistan, because from where we have to be assured that that parties are not going to follow their own interest. Madam Speaker, I want to give a clear example of United States with WHO. Exactly in this pandemic and this critical situation, United States withdrawal from the WHO in this critical situation because the United States interest was not followed by the WHO. So there's no any guarantee of when United States does not seem, for example, the interest of his country in the peace agreement, so there's no guarantee that he will also withdraw from the agreement. Besides, there is a case, also Paris Convention, in that United States of America also withdrawal from this convention and mentioned that the American policy is the first to be considered. Madam Speaker, turning to my next sub-argument, the interest that are going to be followed by the countries is a major risk to the whole peace process. I want to give an example. Before the year 2010, there was a case between Azerbaijan and the region Karabakh. The region Karabakh wanted to have its independence from the Azerbaijan and wanted to rejoin with the Armenia. But the Azerbaijan wanted to have its territorial integrity. Madam Speaker, in that case, because Russia, Iran, and Turkey intervened to that peace process, and the ceasefire was unfortunately not established. Madam Speaker, because of this intervention, not compatibility with the agreements, Madam Speaker, it may cause to a deadlock, because one of the major things that causes to the deadlock is one, uncertainty about the number of negotiations, because you do not know, and it is a risk to be taken, because the Taliban may reject to discussing with an international commission. Besides, when you are unilaterally supporting the certain state, for example, the number, you are going to have a deadlock. Besides, we support on opening opposition our alternative because it will increase the self-reliance of women, besides compatibility with agreement, besides it will reduce the tension reduction for Afghanistan. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rosita, for the opposition. I now would like to invite the member of the government from the Monash side, Jacob Kobe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. It is absolutely crucial that an international commission is formed to recognise and protect the past achievements of women during the intra-Afghan peace agreements. It is understandable that the opposition is worried about international involvement. However, by structuring the commission around the empowerment of Afghan women, we can ensure an inclusive process with positive outcomes for women and for all. It is not enough to merely have women at the table. They must also be heard. This government believes that the International Commission will be most effective as an advisory body. Its members will be made up of UN officials, international experts, NGO representatives, but most importantly, representatives of civil society and the groups that make it up. This will ensure that women and women's groups will be actively engaged in the intra-Afghan peace talks. These groups will be allocated the same power within this committee as any other member. The international oversight will ensure that impartial actors are able to mediate between the interest groups, bringing together their significant experience, knowledge, and strategy to the table, which can be utilised by women's movements. This kind of international involvement can be very positive. In fact, in the Kenyan experience, the stepping in of former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan was the catalyst of a legal framework of the Constitution, which was key in bringing together opposing groups and preventing further violence. The International Commission will be structured around an unwavering principle of grassroots involvement. The Commission will not be interventionist. It will not seek to instruct. It will not seek to impose. Rather, it seeks to empower actors within the Afghan civil society, such as women's groups and collectives, to take their rightful seat at the negotiation table. We know that no peace agreement will be effective if it is not representative of those on the ground. The academic literature widely accepts that where women's movements are included in the peace process, these countries will go further in advancing women's rights in the process. And this involvement in the peace process is made possible by a political opening in which these groups are able to express their interests. This International Commission seeks to create that political opening, acknowledging the past achievements of women in Afghan civil society and by bolstering their present and future inclusion. There is no way that peace can be accomplished without the inclusion of Afghan women, and this International Committee seeks to empower women within society. Afghan society has a rich history of women's activism, both at a grassroots level and in a formal capacity. Women's groups have been widely involved in resolving local disputes and even participating in negotiations between this government and the Taliban. Having ratified the CEDAW Convention in 2003, this government has shown a commitment to the meaningful inclusion of women, recognising its absolute necessity in peace building. Women's movements can often play a critical role in bridge building between adversaries. With an intersectional approach, these groups find common ground and solidarity amongst the women of competing parties, often seeing beyond religious and ethnic lines. This was the experience in the 2010 Kenyan Constitution, which was characterised by a strong civil involvement, namely women's movements, which in the end produced a constitution that contained critical gains for women. However, we must not look at these gains as only those for women, as they represent significant steps towards peace, good government, and inclusive societies. And this International Commission seeks to empower those steps. Experts consistently tell us that women's issues interact with various aspects of human security and effective state building. A gain for women is a gain for all, and an International Commission is necessary to protect these gains and to ensure their progression. When women are included in the peace process, it is not only far more likely that strong gender provisions are included, it also improves peaceful outcomes, making an agreement 64% less likely to fail. It is therefore completely necessary that an international commission is formed to ensure the inclusion of Afghan women in the intra-Afghan peace talks. Without such a commission, we risk a non-inclusive, unsuccessful process, which will be of no benefit to the Afghan women and of no benefit to the Afghan people. Thank you.
Many thanks, Jacob, for that contribution to the government's argument. I'd now like to invite the member of the opposition for the Afghan team to speak. Thank you.
So, greeting everyone, respected chairs, Safian Wari is acting as the member of opposition side. Respected judges, I would like to mention the key points of the motion which was ignored by the government side. We are actually here to talk about an international commission for protecting Afghan women achievements during the intra-Afghan peace. The most thing that was unclear from the government side was that why an international commission? This is a big question. which was not answered by the government side. Coming to their arguments that I mentioned, firstly, they mentioned about the protecting women of Afghanistan or empowering women of Afghanistan by creating this international commission. Let me mention, dear chair, that how can you protect a woman, how can you protect a gender by leaving them behind? By bringing international commission to defend, to stand for the rights of Afghan women, actually you're ignoring them. How? As Afghan women, I have my right, I have my ability to defend myself, to stand for myself. So no reason an international commission come and defend me. I must raise my voice because I have this ability. So we do not need, as Afghan women, for an international commission. Secondly, dear judges, they've mentioned about leaving women in behind. Actually, they themselves as a government are trying to leave the women behind by bringing the third party in here. We have our government, we have Taliban. And these are the two main that are going to in peace process. And here, if there was any problem, Afghan women can defend themselves. So we do not need any third party here. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, they have mentioned that Afghan women must be heard. Actually, we are focusing to this point. I'm asking international commissions that please let Afghan women to raise their voice. If you can come here, actually you are just not let us to speak. You are just faking our rights. We have our own rights and we can speak by our own side. We have that ability and capability. Coming to our side, Mr. Speaker, as our opposition leader and as well deputy has mentioned that in motion we have key points that intra-Afghan peace. So could you please make us clear that what actually intra-Afghan peace means? It means the people of Afghanistan and the Taliban group, whoever it could be, the women, the men. If there is a need, so women can stand and defend their own life. Secondly, as my deputy mentioned that the government side even did not make clear that how and who are the people that coming and standing for the right of women in Afghanistan, and who are coming here and defending us. And actually, do you know that the people of Afghanistan, especially the women, will give this right to the International Commission to defend you, to defend us? Like you're a person. Is it possible that I should come and defend you? Stand for you? You have your own right. You can do that. Why should I come and speak instead of you? See, I'm here and I'm speaking for myself. So what if I asking someone to come and here speak instead of me? What does it mean? It is just taking my right, not giving my right. It is not empowering me, it's dispowering me. Coming to my own argument, Mr. Judges, that such commission will actually put Afghan women behind. How? It's like giving a hand to the Taliban. It showed that Afghan women are so much weak and they cannot even protect their own achievements. So how they can stand and how they can keep improving after these peace assignments. Coming to the conclusion, judges, would like to say that all Afghan women has the right to defend themselves. So please come not to give a hand for the Taliban for bringing international commission here. Let's Afghan women to speak. Let's ask to save our own achievements. We do have this ability. So that's why we are going and we are just stand for our right in here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Safia, for those fighting words. I very much look forward to the response of the government. So I would now like to invite the final speaker from the Monash side, the whip of the government, to speak, Shalia Sharma.
Members of this parliament, Globally speaking, less than 10% of negotiators at peace tables are women, and less than 4% of signatories on peace agreements are women, right? We, the government, are not arguing that Afghan women can't speak for themselves. In fact, they should, and they loudly do. What we are suggesting through this international commission is to provide an advisory body that is grassroots led, that is locally led, that deals with key stakeholders within these peace talks to improve the voices of women being heard, to ensure that women are not only at the table, but their voices are being meaningfully heard within the debate. And that is what is so important. What this commission does by protecting the past achievements of Afghan women is ensuring that we do not take steps back. It's ensuring that whatever rights have been afforded to women, we do not backslide further. That is what we're trying to do here. Now, let's first look at what is being suggested by the opposition team. Firstly, the idea that having this commission ruins the ability for this commission to ruins the ability for the intra-Afghan talks to reach peace. It is important to understand that peace not only just means an absence of violence. To have a long-lasting peace, there needs to be ensurety that we have rule of law, that there's strong civil institutions, there's strong civil society, that there's fair and equitable access to the law, that the delivery of services is ensured for all of the population. And by focusing solely on the idea that, no, we don't need that, we're ignoring the fact that we're only looking at a band-aid solution. If we want to have a long-term solution, we must include women, because having women within this within these talks and having this commission providing support to women is what we need here, because they'll allow for women to take part in these talks. What is especially important when we're looking at this, and why in Afghan women, why we should provide external support to Afghan women, is that they're doing a fantastic job on their own, that can be said. But we can make sure that they do better, that they can progress further, that we can push forward on that trajectory that they're already on. It's ensuring that what we already have can be pushed forward by ensuring that we have the base to lean back on. You know, international experts from Kenya, from Somalia, from Libya, from Palestine. Having these experts who have dealt with these issues in different contexts and leaning back and using that knowledge to forward women within the Afghan peace talks. That is what is especially important. And that's why we can ensure that this peace will last, and why a commission is necessary for this peace to last, and why an international commission is especially important, because you can use those sources for good. It is important to say that we can't rely on civil society alone. It's important to note that civil society, by its very nature, has competing interests. It has its own political elites. And so we should have an extra body to liaison, to mediate within civil society, so the representatives we do put forward are representative of all women within Afghanistan. That we show an intersectional range of interests, not just looking at women's issues, but also things like class. Also looking at things like healthcare, education, these things that intersect with women's issues, and making sure that they do last and continue on forwards. The other point that was brought up that was by the opposition was the idea that this international commission protects extremist rights. Now, this is something that is incredibly awkward for us to understand, and I'm still in the midst of trying to understand how this would actually work. Having this commission allows for a point of change, allows for extra support to ensure that extremist rights are not protected, that women have access to those rights. They're not only able to have legal rights, but able to access them because they have sufficient support. That is why an international commission is needed. It is not because Afghan women don't need to talk for themselves. Of course they can, they should, and they definitely will. It is providing additional support to make sure they get to where they need to be. It is using the power of the international community to ensure that these women get what they rightly deserve, and not pointing a target on their backs, right? By ensuring that they have the necessary protection. It's not just random words or legal frameworks. This is actual words on the ground, people on the ground trying to help these women get to where they need to be to ensure a safer, secure, more economically efficient future for Afghanistan.
Thank you very much, Shalia, for that closing for the government. I'd now like to invite the whip of the opposition to close for the APT team, Farman Inayat.
So to start with, I just want to mention one thing in the beginning, that the government side only focused on one thing, which was the International Commission, and they were not clear about it, about all the procedure, the rules, regulations, how it will work. They didn't mention about that. They only mentioned that it will support and empower women, but how? They didn't focus about other things, like how the things are going in here in Afghanistan for women. For example, if I mention about one of the things which happened in 2006, January 2006, which was in the London conference, they created an international compact or law for the women that it included benchmarks for how to treat women and what rights they should have. But it didn't work. I mean, there's no point if we make a law, if we make a commission or anything, but it doesn't work. So we need to consider the people and the things which are going in Afghanistan, the Taliban, how they will deal with that. So as the opposition deputy mentioned, that we're not against women, but we as the women living in our country, we know that how international community as well. So I'd like to start one by one, that as the name or the motion suggests, that it's intra-Afghan peace negotiations. So it's intra-Afghan, so it means that, of course, that Taliban being against Afghan, the interference of Taliban being against the interference of international community will, of course, get provoked by this thing. Like if we mention about a point which happened in Kandahar, I don't know if my other colleagues know about this. Besides the international community, we have a lot of other cases in Afghanistan, which we see and we hear from the news. That Zainab Fayez, she's one of the prosecutors in Kandahar, that she was trying to freedoms, but she got a warning from the Taliban saying that from now on, you're our target and we will treat you as your other Western slaves. This threat shows that how much they're against the Western people, culture, and the dealings that they do. So this point exactly shows that the Taliban will never accept this thing. And as the whip of the government side mentioned that, you know, we will have an advisory body which will help the women. But I want to ask that besides helping them, do you see how much risk it can take? Do you guarantee that nothing will happen? Do you guarantee that the Taliban will not do anything worse than this, seeing this situation? They talked about that, you know, women need an insurance. But before this, we had a lot of rules, a lot of contracts, as I mentioned about the London Conference, International Compact Law. It didn't help. So how can you assure that this thing will help? I mean, you're talking about insurance, but how? If you're talking about an international commission, I think you need to be more into details. That how can you ensure that? Suppose if you make that thing and Taliban gets worse than this, how will you stop that thing? How will you make sure that the Taliban will not do the things that they're doing? Do you have even if you say that this is an international thing, we will support women, but the government side didn't mention at all that how. It means you should have some, rules. I mean, do you have some punishment? Do you have some other things? How will you do that? So according to me, that as the opposition side mentioned that, this thing will never be compatible with the Taliban, and it will make the situation worse in the Afghanistan, even if they show that, okay, we will agree with this. But that's not the thing, because you cannot change the mentality of the people, the Taliban. And that's how it is. I mean, even if you sign that thing, or even if you make a commission on that, that won't work, because it has been shown before also. So that's why I think that the opposition side has a valid point on this, and I agree with my side, and I support my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Farman, for closing for the opposition and the Afghan team. I just want to congratulate all debaters. This has been a really compelling debate. And I have to say, as chair, I've had to restrain myself at times. I wanted to jump in at various points and add to the arguments. So thank you very much. I think you all did an excellent job, and also just revealed just how challenging peace processes are, and some of the key tensions in the intra-Afghan talks, but also how women's rights in particular are often a fault line and also a touchstone in peace talks. So you achieved a great deal, and I hope you were also quite compelled and even led to reflect further by each other's arguments. We are going to give about 5 minutes to our adjudicator to prepare her comments and to decide on a best speaker and runner-up for today's debate, which will no doubt be a very difficult job given the caliber of all speakers today. So we'll just take a 5-minute break. And then I will come back and just briefly introduce our adjudicator, who is Alison Davidian from UN Women, currently based in Kabul. While we're waiting, I just wondered if Hassan might like to say something on behalf of Afghans for Progressive Thinking. Hassan?
Thank you, Jackie, and this is Hassan Hamidi. I work as a project assistant for a debate program at Afghans for Progressive Thinking. On behalf of Afghans for Progressive Thinking, I should say that this organization is the largest youth-led organization that works towards a just, peaceful, and inclusive society through promoting critical thinking among youth and children in Afghanistan. We use 2 theories of change, namely contact theory of change and critical thinking theory of change, to reach our vision. Since the inception of this organization in 2010, APT has impacted over 40,000 students across 7 provinces of Afghanistan. APT is currently partnering with 35 public and private universities on national, regional, and international levels to further advance its mission and commitment to its vision. APT's primary focus falls into 3 categories. First, capacity building through debate and leadership development programs. Second, research and research through publication, conferences, and media talk shows. And third, networking through exposure trips within Afghanistan, abroad, and APT's alumni events. We are also, as a member of organization of United Network of Young Peace Builders, we have lobbied for the UN Security Resolution 2250 on youth, peace, and security at the United Nations headquarters in New York City until it was passed in 2015. As a follow-up of this historical document, we have initiated the annual Afghan Youth Representative to the United Nations program in 2018. In 2018 and in 2019, we have selected the first and second Afghan youth representative to the United Nations, and they spoke about the role of youth in peace and security in the Security Council of the United Nations. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank everyone that cooperated for this event, and especially our adjudicator, Alison Davidian, for her cooperation. Thank you, everyone. Wish everyone best of luck.
And that was really interesting to learn more about Afghans with progressive thinking. And at Monash Gender, Peace and Security Centre, we are delighted to be able to co-host with you the series of debates between our youth. And we're very happy that we met a key supporter of APT in Australia back in March, whose idea it was for us to convene these intercollegiate Australian-Afghan debates. So thank you. I might go ahead and introduce our adjudicator, and that will take me a minute. So again, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Alison Davidian, who is currently based with the UN in Afghanistan, but is also an Australian citizen and a former Australian law and international relations student. So who better than to adjudicate a debate between Afghan and Australian youth. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Alison. She has been working for the UN and other international organizations on gender equality, development, access to justice for over 15 years. She's worked at UN Women, and we were very lucky to work with her when she was based in Bangkok in the Asia Pacific regional program. She's now currently the Deputy Country Representative for UN Women in Afghanistan. As well as working in Asia and Afghanistan, she's also worked on transitional justice, both in New York in the Peace and Security Unit, but also in Uganda for UN Women. And prior to working for the UN, she worked for a number of other organizations, including International Center for Transitional Justice in the DRC, Congo, for Equality Now in Zambia, for UNDP in Somalia, and for Refugee Advice and Casework Service in Australia. So she has a really broad set of experiences in a number of countries that are conflict affected and working with vulnerable populations. And lastly, Alison is very well qualified. As I mentioned, she has a Bachelor of Arts in Government, a law degree from the University of Sydney, and a Master's in Law from Harvard University. We are really grateful for you joining us this afternoon, this morning in Kabul. Alison, you are one of our favourite people, favourite friends of Monash GPS, so we were so happy when APT nominated you. They beat us to it. And we really greatly look forward to your reflections and comments on the excellent debate today. Thank you.
So much, Jackie, and to everyone. It's really, really wonderful to be listening to this debate, which is so timely. And I've been so impressed with the quality of the speakers and the quality of the arguments. So really congratulations to everyone. This is such a timely debate right now in Afghanistan, and a lot of the context has already been given. But we are at a real moment now as we think through and begin the discussions around what an intra-Afghan dialogue will look like. I was thinking I would just go through each of the speakers just to give very, very brief comments on what I found impressive for each of them, and then conclude at the end. So just to start with Peter, I thought you gave a really great context analysis. Pete, sorry. I thought you gave a really great context analysis and overview of where Afghan women have come, and some of the history there, the Afghan National Development Framework, CEDAW. Of course, there's still issues. Perhaps to mention also COVID and how women's access and participation is again being very restricted, again, even more so now during this context. What I thought was a bit of a jump was going from the context analysis to then talking about why an international commission would be the body that would protect women's rights. It went sort of straight from an analysis into a recommendation going forward. And I know that you had, of course, time constraints, but it would have, I felt like there was just one more step in between, going from this is what Afghan women have achieved, this is why an international body would be recommended, and this is why we're recommending this kind of international commission going forward. So just one step there, but I thought your analysis and you spoke very brilliantly, so well done there. Going on to Idris, yeah, well done, Pete. Going on to Idris, you made some really powerful comments. And the big question was, and I think you raised it straight up, was why does it have to be international? What can be gained from an international commission? You mentioned that there's a high peace and reconciliation council led by Dr. Abdullah. There's a little bit of assumed knowledge there, but it's true. And in fact, there's a 21 member negotiating team that has been announced. 3 of those members are women, and that was a big victory. So we do have women that will be engaged in the track 1 in the inter-Afghan dialogue, and that's a big gain. I think given the history of international intervention in Afghanistan, the question of whether we need an international commission to advise an intra-Afghan dialogue is a very, very relevant one. You also made the point about how it could promote some more extremist elements. I get your point there, and you use the eval law, basically having an international body dedicated to promoting women's rights in the inter-Afghan dialogue could have some kind of backlash from the Taliban. I get what you were saying, but I think maybe the point didn't come across quite well. There possibly a little more explanation of your point there, but I did understand what you're saying, and it is a valid point. I thought you really very well represented what were the arguments for the opposition. So well done, Idris. Going on to Sonali. You started by mentioning that women are being sidelined in the intra-Afghan talks. That's up for, I think, discussion. It's been seen as a victory that we have managed to get 3 women into the negotiating team. But yeah, your point is taken. I mean, 3 out of 21 is not a lot. So there is definitely room for further engagement. I think the issue though that I wanted to see addressed that is really the main one is, why does this body have to be international? Why can't it be a national body with international advisors? What does the international component of it bring? And I think that was something that would have been good to come up earlier, I think. Afghanistan has a vibrant civil society. They have many women's groups that have been participating on the sidelines. But I think the question of international versus national needs to be addressed head on. And that's because of all of the baggage that comes from international engagement in Afghanistan. Why are we proposing another international commission for an intra-Afghan dialogue? This is something that is really the core of the debate. But I thought you continued to present really well from the government side, and again highlighting the gains that have been made, and important that those gains on women's rights aren't lost. So well done, Sonali. Going on to Rosita. So Rosita, again, I thought you raised a very good point about how an international commission is not compatible with the agreement that has been signed between the Taliban and the United States. That's important. That's something that the Taliban will keep raising. it could destroy the negotiations. It's true. That's something I think you could have maybe explained a little bit more and gone into, but your point, it's very great that you made it at this point, as this, the second speaker. I also think that the sentiment around the examples of how international parties who have come into Afghanistan have had their own interests. You used the COVID and WHO example. Perhaps you could have used an example that's more on the peace process, because there have been many examples of how international parties have come in and tried to negotiate their own interests. But your point is taken. I didn't get your third point. I know you said there were three, so sorry if I missed that one, but I thought you again really advanced the case for the opposition. So well done to that. Yeah, well done, Rosita. Going on to Jacob. Jacob, you gave some really great analysis of what women's engagement in the peace process has been able to achieve. You again brought up the advisory role. That's important. That's important to get legitimacy and buy-in to say it's an advisory role. And you mentioned again, it will be grassroots-led and national civil society experts. My question to that would be, then why are we calling it an international body? What's the point of that? If it's going to be grassroots-led and national, why complicate matters by calling it international? You mentioned again the importance, the good examples that come from showing women's civil society engagement in the process. That was, you spoke really well on that. Again, I think it comes to the issue of how are we going to address issues and tensions with the Taliban, who are against women's engagement and then international engagement as well. So it remains an issue, but very, very well presented, and your arguments, particularly on women's engagement, were really, really strong and cogent. Going on to Sophia, you raised again some really powerful arguments. Why do internationals have to come and speak for me? That is a key argument. Why do we need international speaking for Afghan women? They've been doing that since forever, and Afghan women can speak for themselves. I think this is a very, very powerful argument. But I think what could be a little bit more explained is, how is the act of having internationals here disempowering you? How has that disempowered you in the past? How will it disempower you now? And I also thought your argument about how it would give more weight to the Taliban's argument that Afghan women can't even defend themselves, they need internationals to come. I mean, that was also a powerful argument. But I think a little bit more explanation and delving into the arguments a bit more on how it's disempowering and what has happened in the past to undermine Afghan women's voices through having internationals. That would have been good to have. But very, very well done, Sophia. You spoke really, really strongly. Going to Shaila, the last speaker for the government. Shaila, you spoke brilliantly, and I think a lot of the arguments that I was looking for came through in your presentation, because you addressed the issue of what can internationals do. That's the big question. There is no point to bringing internationals if they're not going to be able to add anything. In fact, and this is something that came out in the last speaker in Farman, it may actually create some risk. But you addressed this question of the fact that an international commission may actually broker better access for women than a national commission. I would have liked to say a bit more on how, but of course there's time constraints. But that question, that is really the heart of it. That an international commission could potentially broker better access. And then you hit the heart of how internationals can add value, and that's through the expertise. So the expertise that comes through having experts who have experience on different kinds of issues, experts who have worked in different peace contexts. This is where the international value added comes in, and I think that you address that really well. You also address the fact that civil society has its own political elites, and it's no guarantee just by having civil society there that you will have real representation of all kinds of women. An international commission may be able to address that and facilitate that a little bit more. I really like that. And also you also raised the fact of the power of the international community and that they may be able to provide some protection for women. And that was also a good point. So I really thought that you got to the heart of the arguments there. So really well done, Shaila. Going on to Farman, you also spoke really well. My first question, though, the question I had back after Shaila spoke would have been, but why does it have to be an international commission? Why can't it be a national commission and you have international advisors? Why complicate it by calling it an international commission? Why would it have to be an official body? Why can't we have a national commission made up of experts nationally and civil society that can protect women's rights, and then you have internationals coming as advisors? Why do we need to call it an international body? That would have been my first argument back. But you raised some very, very good points about that they could provoke the Taliban. The Taliban are against Westerners, although they've just negotiated a peace agreement with the US, but yes, they are. And they're also against women. But I thought you made a very, very good point here, and this is something that needs to be reiterated, is that actually an international commission could create more risks for women. Women who are aligned with this commission, women who are part of this commission, may be subject to more attacks because of the way that the international community is viewed in Afghanistan. There's a history here of engagement that has not led to anything, and could be argued has made things much worse. And so any woman that engages in this kind of commission could be discredited. So you raised a really, really strong point there. Well done, everyone. I have had a very hard time wanting to think through who was the best speaker and the best runner-up. You were all really extraordinary. I feel very privileged to be able to be part of this debate. If I can give, my estimation. Should I announce now, or Jackie, do you want to say anything?
Alison, please go ahead. Yes.
Okay. For the best speaker, I would give it to Shaila Sharma. I thought you did really well to address a lot of the arguments that had been raised and really provide some justification for it being international. And the runner-up I would give to Idris. Idris, I thought you really laid out really, really well the beginning arguments for the opposition. But I really want to say to everyone, extraordinary, really, really well done. You've given me a lot of food for thought, and I will be remembering this as we go forward to thinking through Afghan peace negotiations. So well done, everyone, really.
Thank you very much, Alison, for those really comprehensive comments for every speaker. Congratulations, Shaila and Idris. It's great to have two speakers from both the Australian and the Afghan side, and a really tough decision there, Alison. I don't envy you having to that. So, and I think, you know, I think there were just such outstanding speakers. I just would agree with you on that. And fantastic that you've also have had a number of you know, insights from the debate, which, you know, given that you are also working as an international actor supporting women's rights in the intra-Afghan talks. So who better to influence everyone than Alison Davidian here in Kabul. So thank you so much. You know, we greatly appreciate your help, and we know that likely you were once a debater. You can imagine you were, you know, a member of a team, and that the kinds of arguments being made here are also the kinds of arguments that you need to make in your work and have made in your work. So it's really great to have had you here with us and to, you know, to make those really pertinent comments. So thank you so much. And like I think APT came up with the motion, but I would mooch that maybe we debate this topic again and we just take out the international and we put national and see how that would change the arguments. So thank you very much. And I would now like to close the debate and turn to my colleague, Ryan Allard, the president of Monash's International Affairs Society, to say some final words. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jackie, and congratulations to Shalja and Idris on receiving Best Speaker and runner-up. This is my third time being involved in the debates, and it has been an really insightful and interesting debate. So thank you to all the speakers. A lot of, as Jackie said and Alison said, a lot of food for thought. Just on behalf of MIAS, I want to thank Alison for being our adjudicator today, and we really appreciate it. And thank you for your insight on the topic as well. I want to thank Jackie True for chairing today's debate as well. Our friends at APT as well, Hassan, who was in charge of the APT debaters, as well as Ajmal, who has been instrumental in organising this debate series. This is our first live stream debate, so a special thanks should go to Stephen, who is also on this call, who has set up our live stream for us. And thank you so much for all the work you've put in for that. And also to just all the experts as well, who contributed in the lead up, who helped our debaters and made videos and content for them. Just wanted to say thank you so much. Really enjoyed it and found it insightful, and I look forward to hearing more debates from everybody. But I'll now hand over to Ajmal, who would like to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Ryan. I would like to thank my colleagues at Monash University, Professor Jackie and all the colleagues for your coordination and efforts to make these debates happening in international levels. I would also thank Ms. Alison Davidian for all your feedback and your comments, and we are really happy that you could join us today. And I would also like to congratulate all the debaters for their discussion and for their great debates. I wish everyone best of luck, and we are looking forward for the debates in the coming future. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much, Ajmal. All the best to everyone. And we look forward to seeing you for the fourth round of our debates. And for any of those of you watching at Monash University and interested in women's rights, human rights, please look up the Monash Gender, Peace and Security Centre, and please consider taking our courses, our graduate certificate in gender, peace and security, our undergraduate course in gender and international relations. And thanks to the debaters, because we will be rerunning this debate live next semester. All the best, and hope you all have a good afternoon and evening.